guys, it's been a long time coming, but I'm proud to announce that my hands are finally registered with the International Registry of Lethal Hands. This is the only place where your God-given gifts of danger can get the recognition that they truly deserve. Now you might be thinking, why on earth would anybody need to register their hands as lethal? Let me break it down for you. There are those among us whose hands are so downright dangerous, they need to be documented. Registration is a moral responsibility, and it's a vote for the greater good of humanity. The sole mission of the International Registry for Lethal Hands is to catalog the most formidable hands on the planet. So if you know someone, and you even suspect they possess lethal hands, do not hesitate. Register them immediately. And if you've ever looked at your own hands and thought, damn, these dogs are dangerous, don't settle. Go register. Head over to registeryourhands.com, fill out a simple form, and you're official. Remember, use the promo code Chael to save 20%, or just click on the link below. All right, we're a little bit lost in translation here. So, Volk, one of my favorite fighters, put out an interview, and it was in response to O'Malley calling out Ilia Topuria, just so you understand the context. Volk said, well, I'm next. I know I'm next. Now, oh, he's got my attention now. Because that sounds like he's about to reveal inside information, a behind-the-scenes conversation and or negotiation. And by the way, Volk does not strike any of us as the kind of guy that's going to start bluffing. So he's got my attention. Volk, then I'm reading the interview. See, so when I tell you we're lost in translation, I'm reading the interview. Volk then says to Sean, just kind of speaks to him directly, hey, Sean, if you're going to get that one, you better slip it in soon, because I know I'm next later this year, whenever it is, but I know I'm next. Okay, great. Now you've lost me. Wait a second. If Sean, even if we're being figurative, but if Sean can slip it in, then you're admitting you're not next. So is the translation simply, I know what's next for me? When and if I return? Because somewhere within this, he also said he was going to take a little bit of a break, which sounds good. Like everything there, right? This isn't meant to be a gotcha moment by me. This is me saying, hey, if there's any chance that Volk sees this, you just get him to clarify. And that's also a way to speak, though. Hey, I know I know what's next for me at title shot. That's also a way to speak, right? That's not a commitment and or a promise. It just can be. So which one was it? And then when I do look at that, Sean and Topuria, I'm very comfortable in telling you, has no chance of being next for Ilia Topuria and Sean O'Malley. There's not a time throughout history where you can go champion versus champion without a whole bunch of work done and a whole bunch of questions answered by both people. So Topuria because he's yet to defend, just by example. Or Sean because he's now defended once, just by example. But I mean, it doesn't completely disqualify it. You're still going to be, as much as you want to laugh at it or dismiss it if you're a hater, or as much as you want to say, yeah, let's go and make it if you're there's a big fight guy and we can do it in an arena in Spain. Before we get there with your projections based on nothing, you do want to ask, if you're being a reasonable person in the room, what's a better idea? And you're going to have to come up with two. I think you have one for Sean. I think you have Merab. But I don't know of the one for Ilia. In fact, with Volk being the only guy claiming dibs that I'm aware of, the promotion did not speak on it. Now, the belief, and I was in Anaheim, I called Ilia Topuria versus Volk for the post-fight show, which means we are called upon to at least make a guess of where we go from here. And my guess at that time, at least internally, was we will not give this to Volk tonight because next week in Mexico City is Rodriguez versus Ortega, which if we could create the belief as a number one contenders match, we add to that. If we give it to Volk tonight, we take away any ability. I just remember having this thought Volk has now had his say that he would like Topuria. He said that after we woke him up. Ortega and or Rodriguez will have their say on Topuria, and they're going to say it after a victory. We're going to have to wait and see what happens. I just remember having that thought. But that victory went to Ortega. And Ortega didn't even want his hands raised. He was in such a spirit and a mindset. He wanted the sportsmanship and respect. It was really a big part of him that night, and he is yet to call for a title shot. Nobody at 45 has called for a title shot. Now, I think things can change very quickly. When we get through 300, let's just say Max wins. He becomes the BMF. He takes that. He goes back down to 45 like he says he's going to do. All of a sudden, you've got a pretty meaningful conversation. Let's say Aljo comes into the division, has a great performance with Cater. Not to mention Cater over Aljo, perhaps the same thing. But Aljo with a great performance. Now all of a sudden, you got some pretty viable options. Now all of a sudden, you're looking around, and maybe we are just going to wait that long. But Ilia Topuria seems to be okay with that. He hasn't said anything. And if Topuria and Sean can get going after each other in just the right way before anybody else interrupts, they could build some real headwind. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Sean is going to fight Merab. I don't at all think O'Malley and Topuria are going to have at all. I know they could, but if I was to lay out for you what would need to be done by both sides, I would then be, if I said it is going to happen, I would then be predicting that they're both going to do it. I don't think so. I think Sean's going to think that's what he wants to do. He's made it known that he's going to go take on Merab. Look, this is what the rankings say. This is what you guys say. He's sitting right there. He stole my coat a little bit ago. I haven't forgotten about it. I already beat his teammate. Bring him on. Let me get this done with him. I mean, that seems to also be on O'Malley's mind. Interesting. I just think it's an interesting time. I think it's an interesting spot. If Volk does have or believes he has a verbal agreement in place, if he wouldn't mind sharing, maybe that was his attempt to share right there. I'm letting him know it was unclear. Could you clarify that? And if that isn't the case and he's holding out and just think that's next, right? I mean, there's a realisticness we have to come to as well. There's just a realisticness. Volk was 35 time of that fight. And if you wait and title shot have never gone together. Now, Volk's level of dominance, Volk's a different deal. I'm not turning on him at all. I'm just sharing for you whether Volk wanted to tell me or not. If he could just tell me if he plans to wait and get a title shot, I'll have my answer right there. He won't need to say any more than that. I'll say, oh, gotcha, Volk. Gotcha. Right, it'll be one of those things, and then eventually he'll catch up with the same thing. So I like the interview. I like hearing from Volk. I think he's a lot of fun. But I left there a little bit confused. You got clarity. I would appreciate it.